At the sound of the Robbie Robertson guitar riff, we have signaled the beginning of SongBike Guitar Q&A Livestream number 124. Here we are, January 24th, 2026. Hey, everybody. Hope you had a great week. Hope you're hanging in there. We got some cold times ahead. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Cold times. Let me tell you about what we're going to do today, and then you tell me what your questions are, because I'm here, number one, for your questions. That's what it's called, a Guitar Q&A live stream. Ask me a guitar question. In between your questions, we have a great play-along song coming up in a little while. You're going to need an A, a D, and an E. You're going to need a G and an F sharp minor. If F sharp minor stresses you out, don't worry. We'll talk about F sharp minor. If it doesn't stress you out, look at you. You're ready to rock and roll. What else do we have going on today? We have a little tough love segment, and the tough love segment is me telling you something that you should probably think about, be aware of, ponder, debate. We have two WTF sections tonight. The WTF sections are weekly teaching features. One of them, we're going to do a recap review of one that we did last week, single string guitar soloing, because since I last saw you, I've been doing it with a whole bunch of my own guitar students here in my teaching studio here in small town Connecticut, and I've been having a blast, and I'm pretty sure they have been having a blast too. So I want to review that with you guys in case some of you missed it last week, or you were here last week and it just life got in the way and you didn't get a chance to put this concept to use. Don't go anywhere. Another WTF feature this week is the ultimate chord progression. How dare I call any one chord progression the ultimate chord progression? We're going to get to that in just a minute. So grab your guitar, because this is another fun thing that you're going to want to know how to do. The ultimate chord progression. Other things this week, my own dumb question of the week. Should I sell out? I got some great offers this week, as usual. What else? I want to talk about some Grammy nominations, specifically the Grammy nominations for Best American Roots Song. There are 5 of them. I want to talk about those a little bit. What else? Tell you a little bit about who's in town, who's passing through my part of America. They might be coming through your part of the United States as well before long. The guitar humidifier that I've been talking about. I want to give you a quick update on that. And I want to do a poll question the way we always do, but YouTube is fighting me again. They're not letting me see the chat the way I always do. I don't know what's different about now, because I want to see the chat, man. And they also won't let me post a poll question the way I typically do. And I reached out to all the smart people at YouTube, and they have not got back to me yet about why suddenly I can't see my own chat. But bear with me. I have a workaround, and the workaround is essentially logging in just like you guys. And boom, boom, and looking at the chat on my own phone, like a person. I'm going to turn that down so there's no feedback. All right. So in 1 minute or less, we're going to do our first WTF weekly teaching feature. But I'm going to just check in to see who's checking in with me. Joseph from Oklahoma City, CLS. Great. Thanks for being here, CLS. You do not need a capo for the play along tonight. Excellent question. Christian checking in from Denmark. Hey, Randy checking in from Colorado. Bruce and Byron in sunny Sydney, Australia. You guys, you're killing me. It is well below freezing here in Connecticut. Charlie Bigo. Hey, Charlie, I haven't noticed you checking in for a little while. Welcome back, Charlie. Rob checking in from Crewe, England. Who else is around? Scott Rhodes. Hey, Sco Rowe. William Collier checking in from Hill Country, Texas. Hey, Bill, hope you're doing well. Chaz checking in from South Beach, and Matt checking in as well. Hey, you guys. And to all of those who are watching but are not in the live chat, hello and welcome. Okay, so you guys know that I do not like to waste time So what I want to do is get right to it. Okay, that's what we're here for. The first thing we're going to do, let's do this ultimate chord progression. This is going to pop up on your screen in a moment. It's going to be very big on your screen. Hope you're sitting down. Okay, is that big enough for you? If your screen is black for the moment, don't worry about a thing. Don't worry about it. Your screen will soon be populated by a couple examples of the ultimate chord progression. The reason why there are two examples is because I made this so big you can't see the total. I think it's a total of 5 examples altogether. And here's why I enlarged it this big. The one that's at the top of the page is the one I want to focus your fingers on right now. There's actually some that go up above this one. I should have put this one first. So the one on the top of your screen is actually the 3rd example or something. But let's focus on it. Okay, so couple things. First of all, the reason why the numbers are staggered in that diagonal thing is for clarity. It's not because it's not for any other reason. Although it's a chance for me to say to you, even though we are going to be playing chords right here, you do not have to strum them or even finger them as complete chords. You can finger them one finger at a time, play them one note at a time. This is not going to be a right hand lesson, a picking lesson. Do whatever you want with your pick, your fingers. It's all fair game. This is all about your left hand embarking on a great adventure. Okay, so again, we're going to focus on the top example. Please do not worry about the bottom example, although it's interesting, but that's not the priority. Okay. C, F, and G, extremely common chord family. So what's so special about this WTF weekly teaching feature? Essentially, this is a classic way to navigate through a C, F, G chord progression with as much beautiful harmony, as many variations as possible. Just the names alone indicate that, right? A C chord to a C major 7, to a C7, also known as a C dominant 7, to an F major. We finally got to an F major, to F minor, to G7, and then back to C. I could have done a G and then a G7 in hindsight to drag out the whole thing even longer. Okay, I'm going to stop talking and just strum through the chords for you. I'm going to do it a few times through. Here's the 5-5-5 C. One more time. Here we go. And again, don't get hung up on how I'm strumming it or how you're, quote, supposed to strum it. Again, the tab is written in those diagonal lines, so to speak. Their numbers are staggered just so you can read them okay, all right? Don't get hung up on any strumming whatsoever. In fact, I 100% encourage you to make up your own song with your own strumming with these chords. Okay, so is this a big challenge for your left hand? Not necessarily. That first C major chord, I've been doing it with one finger, making a little bar. It's a rock and roll C chord, little bar at the 5th fret. But the very next chord, C major 7, my fingers are now in a triangular kind of shape. It might remind some of you of what a D7 chord looks like, except we're on different strings and higher up the neck. But anyways, a C major 7, 5-4-5. A C7, 5-3-5. And I'm going to pause right there. Notice that note on the 3rd skinny string, the G string, it goes from a 5 to a 4 to a 3. That's not a coincidence. We're creating musical tension. I haven't even got to the F chord, but I'm building up to the F chord. The C7 chord is full of tension. That tension is best resolved by some kind of F chord. In this case, it's F major. Hey, Richard, thanks for checking in. Okay, F major. No need to bar the F major. It's 3 fingers on 3 frets. Watch out, the F minor, I am barring. I know it's hard to see my little thumbnail in the corner of the screen. I am barring the single, the first fret on the 2nd string and the 1st fret on the 3rd string. And I'm using my ring finger for that 3rd fret on the D string. If that's not comfortable, you can use your pinky. Notice when you change from the F minor to the G7, one of the notes is already there, the 3rd fret note on the 4th string. And if you hear a little tension, a little dissonance, yeah, you should in that G7 chord. We want that tension because that tension sets us up for a successful, harmonious C chord right there. Okay, now, if you have any questions, don't be shy. Put it in the chat. Is this any one particular song? No, but there are many, many songs in a variety of keys that have this ultimate chord progression at work, meaning a major chord to the major 7 version of that same chord to the dominant 7 version of that same chord, and finally you get to the 4 chord. We're in the key of C in this example. So C is the 1 chord, F is nicknamed the 4 chord. But then the 4 chord turns into a minor. I associate that kind of change with the Beatles. The 4 chord as a major, and the 4 chord as a minor. In My Life by the Beatles is probably where I heard it as a kid. The Beatles did not invent that chord progression by any means, but for a lot of us who listened pretty closely to the Beatles, that was where a lot of us might have heard that. If that rings a bell, it's because you've heard the Beatles do it. A major chord, specifically the 4 chord, to the 4 chord as a minor. Okay. Other things I want to point out. This is somewhat of a physical challenge, but most of you, I'm sure, are cruising through these actual chords just fine. Maybe even looking at the bottom line, which, of course, is your right. What this gives me a chance to talk to you about one super important music theory thing. Any chord with a 7 in the name is actually a 4-note chord, but you are allowed to imply the 4-note chord by playing 3 of the 4 notes. So that's what's going on here, okay? The C major 7, the C7, and the G7, technically they're each missing 1 note, but the 3 notes that you are playing are perfect for getting the message across. Not only is implying chords okay, it's often a mandatory thing, and it's part of a lot of guitar playing styles, implying a chord. So never fret. Now, some of you might not have been even concerned about the fact that the G7 chord here is only 3 strings and 3 notes. In case some of you are about to call the chord police, in this case, every chord is being played with 3 notes, and that is okay. At least it's okay in this particular case, right? And in general, implying chords is in the grand scheme of things, it's actually an advanced technique to have the music theory knowledge to know that sometimes even 2 notes is enough to imply a chord. We'll talk about that someday. And I'm not talking about just power chords, although power chords are one example of that. Okay, now for those of you who can't resist looking at the bottom line, I'm gonna adjust this so you can see how the bottom line resolves. Hold on. Okay, how's that? A little bit better. The bottom line is a pain in the butt, but I know some of you are already doing it, so let's talk about it. There are just some awkward things, especially the very, very bottom. This is let me see here. On the actual page, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that bottom one was the 4th example, and no regrets, but it just ended up being kind of a hard one. It starts off with by the way, notice it's the exact same chord progression played on a different combination of strings, right? It starts off with a C chord, technically it's a C power chord, 8, 10, 10, 8, 10, 9. Oh, so pretty. 8, 10, 8, and I highly encourage you to make that as a bar. This would not be officially called a bar chord. I know it looks like my index finger is stretching across all 6 strings. My pressure is really being focused on the 3 bass strings with my index finger right there. 8, 10, 8. Now watch out, a complete change up for the F major chord, 8, 8, 7, 8, 8, 6. I just took my index finger, which is on the 7th fret of the D string, and I stretched back. You do not have to do that. Just stretch it back to 6. If you're capable of it, go for it. But remember, this is not any one particular song. So you can imagine you have all the time in the world to play the F major and then totally redo your fingers, maybe your index ring and pinky for the F minor. Ooh, in fact, I'm going to encourage you to do that because the last two chords, are going to be problematic for some of you. G7, 7, 8, 5. Ooh, if that sounds a little rough, yeah. And that tension is about to be resolved by that C. Again, those last two chords especially are not easy chords for many people. Don't worry about it. In a moment, I'm going to scroll up to the top of the page and you're going to be back in your comfort zone again. Okay? The PDF that you are looking at, my friends, is soon going to be available at my website. So you can review this to your heart's content. Okay, check it out. There it is, the ultimate chord progression. All right. So take a look at the top one. The top one, I made it the top. I made it the first example intentionally. Before you even play the top one, look at the treble string, the skinny string. Notice there's an 8 in measure 1. That changes to a 7. That changes to a 6. That's where all the magic is happening. Bar at the 5, 5th fret, pinky on 8 on the treble E string. And you can just glide your pinky back to 7. And then any finger you want at 6. Ooh, we got that tension there. There's this C7 chord with a lot of tension. I would drop the bar for the F, 5, 6, 5. You know what 5, 6, 5 is? It's a D chord. It's a D formation. But it's up at the 5th and 6th fret, so it's an F chord, believe it or not, my friends. 5, 6, 5, it's an F chord. 5, 6, 4, F minor. Okay, I'm going to pause there. In pretty much every example on this whole page, there are going to be a couple chords that just don't feel comfortable. I get it. I get it. This lesson plan, if you know what I mean, is intended to be a little bit of a challenge, but it's also intended to be a little bit educational. It's to get this sound in your head, you know, the sound of this exact chord progression. Here's a workaround. Say this G7 at the top of the page, the 4, 6, 3 G7. Say your fingers just are not stretching the way you want them to stretch. I highly encourage you to play each one of those notes as an individual note. There's nothing wrong with that. For all you know, some song that you're going to play in the future wants you to play them as individual notes anyways. That's its own challenge, okay? So with every example on this entire page, I do not want you to stress out about whether or not your fretting hand can actually play the chord. You know, if you can, great. But don't let your ability to grab each note simultaneously, don't let your ability or inability stop you from playing what's on the page. So coincidentally, it's kind of nice that the notes are written separately from each other because you can play them separately from each other. In fact, that could be its own challenge. Take the whole line and only touch one string at a time. In a couple cases, I wish I'd written an 8 on the E string at the end because that gives a nice little sense of closure because we're in the key of C and that 8 is a high C. Nice note to end on. Hey, John, checking in from cold New York. Hey, music fan. Music fan is encouraging everyone to hit the like button. You guys, I'm sure you can recall the fact that I cannot like my own live stream until it's done. What kind of cruel punishment is that? So I know there's a whole bunch of you watching right now. Do a guy a favor, do a YouTuber a favor, and send the like that I can't send. What a bizarre thing. Anyways, I am following along in the chat, even though for some reason YouTube is not putting it on the screen, but I can see it. I can see it right here. Stephen, checking in. Hey, Stephen. Stephen, stay warm where you're at. So, music fan, welcome home, by the way. I assume that you're not streaming and driving. We have moderators. Moderators include music fan and also beginner guitar lessons. Now is a good time to say hi to my mom. Hey, Mom, thanks for watching. And hi to all you bikers. You are watching SongBike, the YouTube channel called SongBike. If you're watching, that makes you a biker. You can get yourself some SongBike merch. Check out the description of this live stream, and there's a link where you can buy yourself SongBike merch. Why not? You just have a t-shirt. I should sell SongBike winter wear. That's what I should sell. Get some for myself. Oh, well. It's cold. Okay. Now, bear with me, folks. I'm going to zoom out. I think it's time to move on, but I'm going to zoom out so you can see what the page looks like. Okay, see that right there? Now you have an idea for the lesson plan. The same chord progression, essentially 4 different ways. There's a little bit of overlap, but 4 different ways. It's just a good workout. All you songwriters out there, please write a song using this chord progression. You will not be the first. You will not be the last. You will write a somewhat interesting song. One example I like to give, during a C chord, say a songwriter's writing a song with a C major chord. The note G is a perfectly good note to sing. It's the open G string. That's where I'm using an example. A perfectly good note to sing while the band, quote, quote, is on a C chord. You could sing that G, and even when the band changes to C major 7, you could keep singing that G. You know how the harmony changed, but the vocal doesn't have to change. G during a C chord, and G during C major 7, and G during C7, resolving to F. I'm singing F and I'm playing F. I can keep singing F during F minor. I can even keep singing F during G7. Yes, I can. Why not? And I can resolve to the note E. During a C chord, I can sing E. That's okay. Okay, so my vocals were not doing much. I literally sang 3 notes. I sang a G, I sang an F, and I finally went down to an E. I only sang 3 notes. Nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with singing 3 notes? Not a very ambitious melody. That's okay. Harmonically, underneath those 3 notes, whoa, it's like the deep, dark ocean. All this stuff was happening. I love that image, and that's my image, so I'm sticking with it. The image is that the melody is bobbing along at the top of the ocean, just 3 little notes, little Nina, Pinta, Santa Maria, just bobbing around the top of the ocean. Underneath are 3 sailing ships, the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. Underneath those, there's the whole deep, dark ocean of harmonies. Stuff is going on, man. How cool is that? How cool is that? Especially for those of you who might not feel like you have a big range in your singing voice. All right, well then make the harmonies kind of hip and interesting in the background. Okay, so for those of you songwriters out there, there's an example of making the music work for you. Okay, you get the idea. And again, that document you're looking at will be available very quickly when this live stream is done. You might ask, well, why isn't it available before the live stream? I don't have enough time. Today was a good teaching day. I had a little time before my first student, so I did preparation for this live stream. And then I had a bunch of students. And then here comes you. You're next. You're next. So that's my, that's why some things get postponed until after the live stream. Okay, so I'm checking the chat. Hey, Greg, checking in Chattanooga, from Chattanooga. Yeah, Charlie's pointing out that the pizzeria behind me is probably nice and warm. It is. My buddy over there, the owner, he's in his shirt sleeves, he's in a t-shirt, hustling around in there. I bet it's hot, hot, hot. People are stocking up on stuff. Well, we got a big snowstorm coming tomorrow, and I wouldn't be surprised if lots of people are ordering food, because he does more than pizza over there. You guys got to come visit, man. Get yourself some great food right next door. Okay, questions, comments? You guys are okay with that? I don't see anyone in the chat who is going crazy with frustration. All right, so I'm going to consider that is now in your hands, the ultimate chord progression. By the way, you guys, it's very easy for me to access documents from prior live streams. Well, I shouldn't say it's very easy. It could be pretty darn easy, depending on what you guys need. So say next week, someone in the chat says, hey man, I love that ultimate chord progression, but I could use a review of that. That is the type of thing I can pull up on the screen so fast, and we could spend 5 minutes reviewing it. So just don't be shy about that. Okay. Okay. So check. I wish I had access to putting a proper poll up on the screen the way we always do. And for some reason, YouTube is not giving me that option. But I do have a poll question. Never too late to have a poll question. Nothing gets in the way of our poll questions. Today's poll question, and you're going to have to answer in the chat instead of voting. Do you wish your hands were bigger, or do you wish your hands were smaller to give you guitar success? And let me tell you, the reason I ask is pretty much every one of my students, sooner or later, it's usually sooner, declares they sure wish their hands were. So who are you? Are you the person who wishes your hands were bigger or wishes your hands were smaller? Let us know in the chat. So many people have communicated those exact things to me. It's the vast majority of every student I've ever had that when it comes down to it, I know you can't change it anyways, but it cracks me up because nobody says, you know what I love? I love how great my hands are for the guitar. No one ever says that. Phil McKnight, who has a very cool podcast called Know Your Gear, he said something that stuck with me. And I never heard anyone put it quite this way before. He said, every hand type, there's some advantage to having that hand type when you play the guitar. Every hand type. And I like that attitude, man. That's why I like his podcast. It's called Know Your Gear. His name is Phil McKnight. So I'm going to pass that on to you. Whatever hands you got, there's some advantage to how big or small, how long or short your fingers are, how thick or thin. There's an advantage. We all know there's a disadvantage. I know that, but there's also an advantage. Okay, so that's the poll question. Let us know in the chat where you're at. I look at people's hands all day long. That's like I'm a hand coach. You know, I watch people's hands. I think about people's hands. Oh, I had a very interesting student. And I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this with you. He came in for his first lesson. I know he's seen these live streams. So, sir, if you're watching, I hope you don't mind me sharing this with folks. Has a hand condition where I guess he said it was a form of arthritis where the tendons and ligaments can become detached. And you know what? He's like, yep, it's not fun, but it's not going to he's not going to stop him from playing musical instruments, you know, and that's such a great attitude. But, you know, hey, my job never gets boring because you all have different hands. And especially since so many of my students are middle-aged or older, your hands have been through a lot and your hands are where they are, you know? Okay. So yeah, let me know, hey, Christian says you're okay with your hands. Christian, you're in the minority. That's excellent. Hey, James, you're asking a question. James is saying, are there practice lessons on your website? Yeah, my website has about 100 videos. And the 100 videos, most of them are not available anywhere else but the website. www.song-bike.com, song-bike.com. And some of the videos go back a ways. When I see those videos now, I look like a young guy. I was, well, let's see, about 10 years. Could it be 10 years? About 10 years ago. Yeah. If I knew then what I thought I knew then. Yeah. Uh, hey, Charlie's making a good point. Talking about your hands and the guitar, there is a thing called the fretboard radius. You might think that your fretboard is flat because to the naked eye it does appear flat, but the fingerboard of your guitar is radius, is curved a little bit, a little bit. Guitars that are curved the most would be like Fender instruments, especially older Fender instruments. Guitars that are curved the least would be like a nylon string classical guitar, which can really feel really, really flat going across. The larger the number, the flatter your guitar. So if someone said, my nylon string classical guitar has a 14-inch radius, that means it's very flat. If someone says, my vintage Fender has a 7.5-inch radius, that's very curved. And there's pros and cons to both ways. But certainly, our hands, I mean, it's the most sensitive part of our body, right? Our hands. So your hands can definitely tell, your hands know what they like, and your hands know what they don't like. I've never made my peace with Gibson guitars. Gibson guitars just don't feel right in my hands. What are you going to do? My Martin acoustic guitar feels great in my hand, What are you going to do? We're all different. No right or wrong. So that is the poll question. Let us know in the chat. Are you the person who feels like your fingers are too long, too fat, too thin? Where do you stand, And let us know, how you deal with it. It's pretty unlikely that any of our hands are going to change anytime soon, other than the big one, which is becoming more dexterous and more flexible, stronger. That stuff can happen. Size and shape, not so much, right? I thought one time, I bet what was it? I assumed that my left hand could do big stretches and big things in a way that my right hand couldn't, because I played the guitar now for 40 years, and I'm only 37 years old. But my right hand can do any sort of stretchy stuff that my left hand can do, even though my left hand's the one that's been fretting the guitar all these years, These are the thoughts that go through my mind. Okay, so that is our poll question. Let's move on. Let's get into the Grammy nominations. I call these the hidden Grammys. The Grammy nominees who might not show up and get lots of spotlight on the night of the Grammy Awards, which is February 1st, next Sunday, right? Next Sunday. Oh my gosh, next Sunday. So we're getting down. I got to make my final, choices of who to spotlight for you guys. So there's so many talented people out there. I like to shine a little spotlight on some of the people who might not perform that night, might not get a whole lot of recognition on the night of the Grammys. But, just to be nominated must be such a thrill. And one of them is going to win. So the theme of tonight's hidden Grammy nominations, the ones that get hidden a little bit from the public eye, the best American roots songs. And everyone I'm about to talk about, there's going to be a link to watching the video that goes to that song in the description of this live stream when I timestamp it after the show. Nominees for Best American Roots Songs include a song called Ancient Light by a group called I'm With Her. Very cool vibe. Reminds me a little bit of Suzanne Vega. You got some Suzanne Vega fans. And I believe if I heard correctly, the song goes in and out of some oddball time signatures, which is so cool. None of this boring 4/4 stuff. I believe, if I heard right, there are a few little oddball time things that went on. Very cool. Ancient Light by I'm With Her. Another nominee in the Best American Roots Songs category, Big Money by Jon Batiste. Another one, Foxes in the Snow by Jason Isbell. A song called Middle by Jesse Wells. And a song called Spitfire by Sierra Hull. Those are the 5. One more time in no particular order. Actually, it's alphabetical order. That's weird. Oh, maybe that's how it was presented on the Grammy website. Ancient Light by I'm With Her. Big Money by Jon Batiste. Foxes in the Snow by Jason Isbell. Middle by Jesse Wells. And Spitfire by Sierra Hull. That list will be in the description of this live stream, as well as links to a video for each one of those songs, and a link to the complete list of Grammy nominations. So we've been talking about Grammy nominees for a few weeks now because I dig it. That's a fun thing. And it's how I educate myself about who's out there and what they're doing. The people that I just mentioned, those are all people's names who I guess I've heard those names. But it sure helps to have a specific song to focus on and a video so remember, who they are. It's just a fun way to educate yourself about some super talented people who are out there. So there you go. The theme tonight during my live stream is Best American Roots Songs nominees, and next Sunday we'll find out. Last year we did the same thing, and I developed a few favorites amongst the ones that I presented to you guys. There are a few people I was rooting for, and this year, those 5 I just mentioned, I'm going to have to go back and listen because it's kind of fun. Just, some people do, what do they call it? When you are like virtual, like, what's that thing you do with baseball? When you have your own little baseball team and you manage it and then you see how you did at the end of the season. It's kind of adorable. What do you call that? You guys know what I'm talking about. Well, I think it's kind of fun to do that with the Grammys. Like you pick your favorites, like, oh, I hope this person gets it. I tend to lean towards people who have never got a Grammy before. And then to tell you the truth, I just, find people who I think I love the song so much, or I love the album or whatever. Anyways, there you go. Okay, moving along. In a few minutes, we're going to do our play along song of the week. It's a good one. I can't believe we haven't done this one before. Part of it is that I didn't realize how simple the chords were. And once I did, I thought, oh man, remember when we do these play along songs, we've done well over 100 now. I look for songs that are famous, relatively easy chords with a relatively easy strum pattern and relatively slow, at least not super fast. And this song checks all those boxes. Okay, check. How about if we talk about a couple quick things? Ooh, I'm looking in the chat. Hey, Chaz, thank you for your super chat donation. I appreciate that. Rotisserie League, Fantasy Baseball, CLS Great. That's what I was thinking of, Fantasy Baseball. So I guess I have Fantasy Grammys. That sounds weird, but yeah. There you go. Thank you, Chris, for putting that there. Charlie is pointing out that Fender does have those 7.5-inch radius necks, yeah. And Charlie says that when you change from a guitar with a 9.5-inch radius to a 12-inch radius, it made things easier for you. Yeah, interesting. In a perfect world, we'd all live down the block from a great guitar store, a nice quiet guitar store where you could hear yourself. And they'd have such a huge variety of instruments that you could try all sorts of instruments and say, oh, I like this, that, this size, this shape, but always trust your instinct. If a guitar does not feel right, it's never going to feel right. If a guitar feels great right away, yeah, always trust your instinct. Even if some of you say, well, I've only played the guitar for fill in the blank. I don't know. I've only played the guitar. Still trust your instinct, especially if something feels really good. Trust your instinct. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's talk about a couple things, and then we'll get into that play along song. My own dumb question of the week. I ask it so you don't have to. Is it a problem if you play a variety of stringed instruments? You got your guitar, but you also got your uke. You got your uke bass, you've got your 4-string banjo, your 5-string banjo, you can play a little bit of mandolin, is that a problem? Why would that be a problem? I mean, in theory, if you want to get good at one thing, you got to focus on that one thing, right? And there's a lot of truth to that. What do you think? Is it a dumb question? Sure. If you want to get good at the guitar, you better stick with the guitar, right? Then again, they all use fingers. They all make your fretting fingers faster, stronger, more confident. Spending an hour playing the mandolin is a pretty cool way to spend an hour, even if you consider guitar to be your main instrument. So what do you think? Is that a dumb question? Spreading your practice time over a few different stringed instruments, is it a problem? I've definitely had a few students over the years who they have a bunch of instruments and they like it. The guitar and the uke. I see a lot of people who have a guitar and a uke, or 2 guitars and 2 ukes, or whatever the case might be. Is that a problem? Depends on what your goals are. I lean towards encouraging people who have already made, if you've already got the instruments sitting around and you shop with them, you have them. I lean towards encouraging you to have fun, man. Live your best life. If you feel like playing the ukulele someday, play the ukulele. It's right there. You know, I think it's great. Again, given that our fretting fingers are usually what's holding us back in making progress, any instrument with strings and frets, violin for that matter, it's going to make you better at the guitar in a general sense, you know? If your dream is to play a certain beautiful song at someone's wedding on your 6-string guitar, you should probably prioritize that and don't get distracted by the uke and everything else, right? So it depends on exactly where you're at. Those of you who already have a bunch of stringed instruments, it's too late now. You've already got them, right? You better play them. You paid for them. Enjoy them. And those of you who are curious about picking up another instrument, go for it. We talked recently about how a baritone ukulele is got 4 strings tuned exactly like the 4 treble strings of a guitar, E, B, G, D. Well, how cool would that be, man? If I could wave a magic wand and give each one of you guys a baritone ukulele, how fun is that? It's like a 4-string guitar, you know? But again, if you've got a very specific goal in mind, if you're really, then having all those instruments, you know, distracting you is probably not a great idea. There you go. In general, the more you play, the better. So I'm going to encourage you to play them if you got them. How's that? Play them if you got them. That's my dumb question of the week. Asked, kind of answered. Okay, how about a quick one, and then we'll get to our play along song of the week. Should I sell out? We haven't done this for a few episodes, and should I sell out? The offers this week. Fiji Water won't let go of me. Fiji Water is one of the brand names that reaches out more than others. It has nothing to do with me personally. I think they make more of an effort to get people like me to say the words Fiji Water to people like you. Fiji Water, there you go. But I'm not going to sell out to Fiji Water. I got offers to promote a certain video editing or photo editing software to you guys. Video games, running shoes. I got a running shoes offer. I didn't recognize the brand name, but I got a running shoes offer. And drum roll, please. Drum roll, louder, 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 louder. And the big, fancy, funnest offer I got this week from me to sell to you, flat extension cords. It's not, it is what it is. That was the most interesting offer I got this week, flat extension cords. Not just extension cords, flat extension cords. There you go. And that is a segment we call Should I Sell Out? Not yet. Not for that. Okay, are you ready to do this? Let's do our play along song of the week. And I hinted at it a little bit earlier when I went. The play along song of the week from the band called The Band. There we go. Up on Cripple Creek. The band called The Band. Okay, so what's going on here? There we go. If your screen goes black, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Take a look at the document in front of you. All the lyrics of this song, all the chords to the song. I'm going to wet my whistle, and I'll be right back. All right. So up on Cripple Creek, the band called The Band. What do you need for this song? Let's talk about the chords. Robbie Robertson largely is not strumming regular old A and D and E chords. He's doing some cool single string stuff here and there, kind of like I just did. Kind of like that. We are going to strum the regular chords because this is a play along. This is not a band tribute class. But just for the record, I did a little deep dive in my book called Robbie Robertson Authentic Guitar Tab Edition, the Guitar Anthology Series, published by Hal Leonard. Well, it's an Alfred publication distributed by Hal Leonard. A $25 book. I found it at the used bookstore for $4. Great investment. It doesn't have every single song in the world by Robbie Robertson and the band called The Band, but it has a lot of good ones. And so I chose Up on Cripple Creek. So everything I'm telling you is based on information in this book, which is a pretty cool book. We'll do more band songs down the road. So in terms of your left hand, A, D, and E. A, D, E, that's the heart of the song, A, D, and E. Come the chorus, you'll need a G chord. And guess what? You can play the G however you want to play the G. For some of you, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. For some of you, the F sharp minor chord in the chorus could hang you up. So options for playing F sharp minor is to play the official F sharp bar chord. That's one option. And those of you who are already good at F sharp minor as a bar chord, go for it. You got a bar overextending past the 6th string at the 2nd fret. My middle finger is not touching the guitar. It looks like it is because it's just curving over the strings. However, my middle finger is doing nothing. I have my pinky on the 4th string, 4th fret, my ring finger on the 5th string, 4th fret. An F sharp minor bar chord. Now, because we're going to actually play the song in a minute, if you're not comfortable with that bar chord, I got options for you. Take your index finger, fret the 3 treble strings at the 2nd fret. That means skinny string 2, 2nd string 2, 3rd string 2. Only strum those 3. That's an F sharp minor. In fact, that is an F sharp minor. An F sharp minor is a triad. It's a 3-note chord, and those are your 3 notes. So that is everything you need to play an F sharp minor. It just doesn't have as big and full of a sound as, playing the redundant notes. Redundant is not the best word. The same notes in a lower octave, F sharp, A, and C sharp, both high versions and low versions. When you do the bar chord, that's what you get. That's why it sounds so big and full. Another option, by the way, is an F sharp power chord. Now, it looks like I'm barring. I'm really not barring. My index finger is curving over the strings and just touching the 2nd string. 2nd fret on the 6th string. My ring finger, you could use your pinky. I'm going to use my ring finger on the 5th string, 4th fret. You could just play an F sharp power chord. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have the character or the richness of an F sharp minor. It gets the job done in a jam. So an F sharp power chord. Before we get into the right hand strumming, let me just point out that what I just told you, those 2 little workarounds I just showed you, those literally come from the big F sharp minor bar chord. But instead of worrying about all 6 strings, you just focus on the 3 treble strings. But do you see how those 3 treble strings at the 2nd fret, those are directly from the bar chord. I call that a fragment. Or we could play a fragment of the bar chord based on the 2 fat bass strings, right? It's a fragment of the bar chord. So it's a workaround. And sometimes it's actually what people do. Even if they're told to play bum, they do a fragment of the chord on a couple of strings because that fits the song for whatever reason, Okay, so even though we're treating those as a workaround, in some cases, that is what you're going to do when you're being asked to play, say, an F sharp minor chord. Okay, so let's talk about the strumming. I get off of this mountain, you know where I want to go. Straight down the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico. I'm going to do nice, steady downstrokes. There's no reason to get fancy with the right hand. I get off of this mountain, you know where I want to go. For the most part, you're going to be doing 4 steady strums every time you see a chord name. A drunkard's dream, if I ever. The exception would be the F sharp minor is only for 2 strums. So for better, for worse, however you're doing the F sharp minor, whatever agony you have to go to or whatever, you're only going to strum it 2 times or 2 beats, okay? And that's going to be pretty consistent. So in general, I feel comfortable saying to you guys, every time you every time you see a chord name, it's perfectly appropriate to strum it 4 times. I see here in the second chorus, I didn't write the chord names in yet. I can do that later. But just know that every chorus has the exact same chord progression. Every verse has the exact same chord progression. After many verses and choruses, it goes into this bridge part. See where it says bridge yodeling? Those of you who know this song, do, 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 I'm going to check and make sure I know the right number of times for strumming on that bridge yodeling part. I think that, yeah, that looks good. Okay, checking. Any questions about this at the moment? We're going to keep this simple and straightforward. We're not going to go too fast. The yodeling part, stand by. The yodeling part. I just want to give you guys the right number. Because I wrote this out with a priority on the lyrics and the chord names drop down, because that's how it's so often presented, I want to make sure I don't steer you wrong into how many times to strum each chord, since some of you are just going to be following the lyrics anyways, which, hey, that's not a crazy idea. Okay, so for the yodeling part, the bridge, which does happen in the middle of the tune, more or less, and then it's the outro as well. It's only half as much time as everything else, okay? So, hey, for what it's worth, I'm scrolling right now, as you can tell, the bridge part, this yodeling part, right there, it says bridge yodeling. Ignore those 4 slash marks underneath each chord. It's going to sound like this. A, D, D, A, D, just A and D back and forth, a total of 4 times. See how it says X4 4 times. And at the end, that exact thing comes back again where it says bridge, outro, fade. It's the same thing as the bridge, but now it represents the end of the song and it fades out. Hope that is helpful. Bear with me. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so you can see the whole thing. Come on, that. Don't worry. Here it comes. I'll make it a little bit smaller. I like to be able to have the whole song on the screen so you can see it, but I know that makes things a little small on your end. I know it does. Okay. A to Z me, giving a shout out to Canada, the Canadian greats, the band called The Band, a bunch of Canadians and 1 American, right? Okay. I think I'm ready to do this if you are. And the only thing is, I could stare at the screen just like you guys. But hold on, wait for it. There it is. All right. I got my own paper version. That's just easier for me to see. Okay. Hey, one last thing before we start. If you're curious, that's how the song starts. The riff is on your A string, 5/7, on the D string, 5. Bum, bum, bum. After you do that, you repeat it with 1 more note. That's 7 on the 5th string. And that whole thing is going to happen twice. I'm going to be quiet. I'm just going to repeat it a few times. I'm using my index finger for the 5th fret notes and my ring finger for the 7th fret notes. Anyways, a very modest little guitar intro. I don't know. Never occurred to me before until I saw it written out. I thought, oh, that's all it is? That's so cool. The more songs you learn, the more likely it is that you'll come across at least a few that are a little bit easier than you thought they were, right? It's bound to happen. Okay, I get off of this mountain, you know where I'm gonna go. Let's do it. We're gonna start. Let's do that riff 2 times, and then we'll come in with the words. So we're gonna start off with a, okay, and then we'll hit the A chord. I'll see you on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. When I get off of this mountain, you know where I wanna go. Straight down the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico. Lake George, Louisiana, little bastard girl I once knew. She told me just to come on by if there's anything she can do. Up on Cripple Creek, she sends me if I spring a leak. She mends me, I don't have to speak. She defends me, a drunkard's dream if I ever did see one. 2, 3. Good luck had just stung me. To the racetrack I did go. She bet on one horse to win and I bet on another to show. The odds were in my favor. I had 'em 5-1. And that night the wind came around the track. Sure enough, we had won. Up on Cripple Creek, she sends me if I spring a leak. She mends me, I don't have to speak. She defends me, a drunkard's dream if I ever did see one. 2, 3. I took up all of my winnings and I gave little Bessie half. She tore it up and threw it in my face just for a laugh. Now there's one thing the whole wide world I sure would like to see. When a little love of mine dips a donut in my tea. Up on Cripple Creek, she sends me if I spring a leak. She mends me, I don't have to speak. She defends me, a drunkard's dream if I ever did see one. 2. Now me and my mate were back at the shack. I had Spike Jones on the bars. She said I can't take the way he sings, but I love to hear him talk. And that just gave my heart a throb to the bottom of my feet. And I swore as I took another pull, well, my Bessie can't be beat. Up on Cripple Creek, she sends me if I spring a leak. She mends me, I don't have to speak. She defends me, a drunkard's dream if I ever did see one. 2, 3, 4. You're alone. You're alone. You're alone. You're alone. As I pulled out of California, up north it's freezing cold. And this living on the road's getting pretty old. So I guess I'll call up Big Mama, tell her I'll be rolling in. But you know deep down I'm kind of tempted to go and see my Bessie again. Up on Cripple Creek, she sends me if I spring a leak. She mends me, I don't have to speak. She defends me, a drunkard's dream if I ever did see one. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what do you think? Mostly that way it went the way I wanted to go. I have questions. You know, I get these lyrics online, and I assume that other people hear things the same way I hear them. Lake Charles, Louisiana. Lake Charles, Louisiana. Yeah, that's what the lyrics should be. There's going to be some corrections here. Anyways, questions, thoughts? Anybody got that riff? 5-7-5, 5-7-5-7. Not too tough, right? I'm going to make a few small corrections on this, and then I'll post it to my website when the show is over. How'd you do with the F sharp minor? Hung in there? No drama on the F sharp minor? Hey, you are always allowed to leave the previous chord a little bit early to get ready for whatever chord is tricky. So hitting that F sharp minor, for example, at exactly the right time is way more important than all the E strumming that leads up to that F sharp. I mean, you still have to play the E chord, right? But the hitting every chord when the whole band arrives on the chord, that's non-negotiable. When the band changes the F sharp, you got to change the F sharp minor, whatever. But what you do in between the chords, there's a little bit of wiggle room for lots of reasons. Number one, if you're a student, quote, quote, and you're doing the best you can, well, then, you know, you're doing the best you can, right? You hit the proper chord, and while the song is progressing, you're getting the next chord ready. Excellent, excellent. Easier said than done, right? If you're playing with an ensemble, like you're playing with a bunch of people or a few other people, it's extremely possible that they can keep the song going while you get ready for the next chord, right? It's one of the best reasons to play with other people. It's not, the burden is not on you to carry the whole song if you're playing with a group of people. Okay, hold on one second here. Oh, the phone. That's better. Okay, so any questions there? I hope not. I hope you guys did okay. My little looper has a mind of its own, but it better shape up because I'm going to put the looper to use soon. Come on, looper. Okay, well, there you go. Our play along song of the week for SongBike Guitar Q&A Livestream number 124 up on Cripple Creek by the band, called The Band, featuring Robbie Robertson on guitar. Fun tune. And we shall do more band songs before long. Randy says, my F sharp minor bar chord actually worked today. Excellent. Excellent. All right, you guys. Don't forget, I'm here for your questions. In between your questions, we got a few more things to talk about. Before the end of the show, we are going to get to another WTF, weekly teaching feature. We're going to do a quick review, or maybe not so quick, of the one-string soloing that we did last time, because it's worth it. It's been, as a teacher, it's been so fun to do that with students. So don't go anywhere. Keep your guitar handy. If you need to wet your whistle, hustle, get your beverage of choice now, because you don't want to miss the one-string soloing thing coming up in just a little bit. I've been pretty happy, everybody, with this guitar humidifier. Okay, I know I talked about this last time, but now that I've had it for a couple of weeks, we're talking about the Music Nomad Humitar, the Humitar 1, acoustic guitar humidifier and hygrometer. My friend, who is a guitar repair person, a luthier, he recommended this. Not cheap, about $30. It provides humidity to your acoustic guitar. It also tells you what the humidity is in the air around your acoustic guitar. And I'm kind of geeking out over that, like, ooh, 47%. You know, if I take it out of the case and I can see the meter go down, I could just, if I just had this in the room, you know, I can see it react to how dry the room air is, you know? So on the one hand, it's a lot of money. It's $30. Holy cow. And if you have a couple acoustic guitars, that adds up really fast, right? Also, some negatives, so to speak. There's no sense in using this unless your guitar is closed up in a hard shell case. If it's in a gig bag, the bag is not going to keep the humidity in there. It's going to essentially go out to the room. That's a deal breaker. Don't spend $30 if you're just going to put it in a gig bag. I get it. What are you going to do? You know, nothing wrong with gig bags. For many of us, that's what they gave us. We bought the guitar, they gave us a gig bag. That's it. You know, for the price of a few of these, basically you could get a room humidifier and just do that. They strongly encourage distilled water, so you got to make sure you get distilled water. It has a little teeny tiny battery. You need a teeny tiny screwdriver to get at the battery. So those are some things that I don't care for. I don't know how long the battery is going to last. I don't know if I have the right screwdriver handy. I have little teeny tiny screwdrivers. I just didn't have the perfect one for this. It's a pain in the butt. On the positive side, it works great. And it really is fun to know that it's getting 46% humidity or more, you know. My understanding is that between 40 and 50 is, in general, that's the goal. And it's fun. It's a relief to know that it's getting that. I'm assuming the meter is accurate. My friend recommended it. He's a pro. I assume it's accurate. So I do recommend it, but now you know some things about it that are, you know, I'll let you weigh the options. I got 2 of them. There was no discount for buying 2. My mother-in-law had given me a gift certificate for Sweetwater. Well, I'm going to stop sharing this right now. And so I had a little money to spend at Sweetwater. In the description of this live stream will be a affiliate link for that exact product. Right there it is, right there. If you want to get one for yourself, specifically from Sweetwater, if you click on the affiliate link and buy it, Sweetwater sends me a little tiny bit of money, a tiny bit. So full disclosure, how much money? Not much. Okay, my most recent payment from Sweetwater was enough to get a decent sized pizza next door. Hey, free pizza. But don't think I'm recommending this because I'm trying to get rich quick. Nope. My income falls well within my wildest dreams. I like to say well within my wildest dreams. But hey, it's a way for you to support this live stream if you go to Sweetwater based on my affiliate link. Now you know affiliate links. Okay. I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. Who's in town this week? From American Idol. American Idol winner Lee DeWyze is coming through my part of the United States. Maybe he's on tour where you live. Lee DeWyze from American Idol. If that name rings a bell, he won American Idol. I'll put a link to one of his songs in the description of this live stream. There are other folks coming through town. A lot of tribute bands. There's a Bob Dylan tribute band. There's a Carole King tribute. And I just don't feel the need to promote what they do. I'm sure they're great at what they do. I kind of like to promote people out there doing their own original stuff. Okay, check, check, check. Check, did that. Okay, let's get to our second weekly teaching feature of the night. Bada boom, bada boom. One string soloing. For those of you who are not here last week, this is your chance to see what's going on. Okay, so for those of you who were here last week, I hope you had a chance to put this to use. And if not, I'm going to give you a little reminder of what's going on. Okay, hopefully your screen is showing what my screen is. What you're looking at, by the way, was inspired by an article in a guitar book that I got. But they illustrate this concept essentially over jazz chords, which I think is great. But I thought to myself, let's do it using regular chords, majors, minors, and seventh chords. So here's the premise. There's nothing physically hard on this page. This is a little bit of a brain thing, although you're going to like how it sounds, I guarantee it. Many of us have been taught to play a guitar solo by finding the appropriate scale and then having fun within the confines of that scale, which is a great way to do it. You can't go wrong. Sounds great. There is another option, and I've been having a lot of fun doing this option with my in-person students and with you guys last week. So quick reminder, I chose an E major chord to start off. Why? Convenience, 100% because of convenience. The chord is easy to play. And we have 2 E strings, so you get twice the bang for your buck. When you, the definition of an E major chord in the broadest sense is an E note, a G sharp note, and a B note. E, G sharp, and B. Any instrument that plays E's, G sharps, and B's together, or even like arpeggiates them, like that instrument is giving the world an E major chord. So for the record, an E major chord is not confined to being this thing that you do with 3 fingers like that. That's one way that we are taught to play an E major chord on the guitar, but that's all it is. It's simply one way to play an E major chord. For our purposes, though, it's a good way to start off because to play the notes of an E major chord on one string, just have to remember 0, 4, 7, 12, 0, 4, 7, 12. And you can do that on the skinny string as well. Okay, those are the note E, obviously the open E string. 4th fret is the G sharp. Don't worry, there's not gonna be a quiz on this. 7 is B, and 12, you're back to the E again. Okay, I do want you to remember 0, 4, 7, 12. You're gonna wanna memorize that. 0, 4, 7, 12, whatever it takes to memorize those numbers, 0, 4, 7, 12. So starting now, at a minimum, you could find a way to record yourself, either with a looper or even just your phone. Record yourself strumming an E major chord, nice and steady, no rush. On a looper, you only have to do it a couple times and just loop that. If you're recording yourself with your phone, you're gonna want to do it for a long time. So you don't have to keep restarting the recording, right, when you play along with it. No matter how you do it, or ideally you got a buddy and you and your buddy are doing this together and they're playing the E chord and you take turns. Okay, then you improvise with the 0, the 4, the 7, the 12. You can slide into those notes. You know, you can play the 0 as your default note. I'm doing a bunch of downs and ups on the 0. And I'm gonna jump in and squeeze the occasional 4 and 7. It's super convenient that 0 is one of the legal notes, right? One of the ones that we can do. Hey, RB, thanks for checking in. Beginner Guitar Lessons is reminding you guys to hit that like button. Sure, why not? Go for it. So we're just getting started. If this seems kind of easy, good. 0, 4, 7, 12, right? Now, trust me, it sounds a lot better when there's an E chord supporting you in the background. Go ahead, I'm gonna do this for just a minute. I'm just gonna strum this E chord. I'm gonna stop talking for once. Have fun with 0s, 4s, 7s, and 12s, specifically on your fat 6th string and your 1st skinny string. Let's do the same thing on the A string, also known as the 5th string. 0, 4, 7, and 12. I'm going to give you an A chord. Have some fun with 0, 4, 7, 12 on the A string. Okay, now the B7 is going to blow all this stuff out of the water. Here's what's going on. I told you that I chose an E chord to start this off out of convenience. That's all. It's an easy chord to strum, and you get to play this pattern on 2 strings, the 0, 4, 7, 12. Okay. Same goes for the A chord. It's easy to strum, 0, 4, 7, 12. You have the open A string, and the A chord goes well with an E chord. So we have 2 chords that pair well together. You could record yourself going from E to A back and forth and rock out, right? Well, if we're already doing E and A, we might as well flesh out the team with a B7, because B7 is absolutely the most common chord to join in with E and A, especially if E is our home bass. E would be called the 1 chord, A would be called the 4 chord, and B7 would be nicknamed the 5 chord. So B7 is equally easy. I mean, it's just zeros and fours again, starting on the B string, but you get a bonus note and even more. Now, how much would you pay? 10. There's a 10 all of a sudden. Why is there a 10 all of a sudden? B7 is a 4-note chord. It is not a triad. B7, any chord with 7 in the name. Remember this from earlier in the lesson? Any chord with 7 in the name is a 4-note chord. I mentioned this when we were doing the ultimate chord progression earlier in the live stream. Okay, so that 10 is a great bluesy rock and roll note, man. That 10 happens to be the note A, the flatted 7th degree of a B major scale, but don't get hung up on that. It's okay if you just think of it as 10. All of a sudden, you can play that 10 because that 10 is a chord tone. By the way, every number you see on the page is known as a chord tone. It's one of the notes from the chord. So we call those chord tones. That's why they sound great when you improvise with those notes while the band, quote, quote, is playing the chord on the left side of the page. So if the band is on a B7 chord, you can just go crazy with the 0, 4, 7, 10, and 12. In fact, lean into that 10 because that 10 is going to sound great. So let's take another couple of seconds. Have fun with the B7 sequence. I'm going to strum B7, but then we're going to do even more, and it's going to blow your minds. Okay, here's the B7. Make sure you're on the 2nd skinny string. Here we go, B7. Okay, now, we're just getting warmed up. What's about to happen is an extremely common trick that jazz players use. And I'm going to keep it simple because it is simple. Here's what it is. Remember, I use that term chord tones. Just then, hopefully you're all playing those chord tones on the B string, 0, 4, 7, 10, 12. Those are the chord tones of a B7 chord. I want you to play the wrong note just before you play the right note. That means instead of playing the 4, play the 3 and then the 4. Did we talk about this last week? I'm not sure if we did. If we did, great. I hope you remembered it. If we didn't, today's the day. Instead of just playing the 7, play the 6 and then the 7, the 9 and then the 10, and the 11 and then the 12. So I'm going to get a loop going myself with a B7. Bear with me. How about if I give it a little jazzy feel? Okay, I'm playing the wrong note and then the right note. That's not how a jazz professor would describe it. It's how I'm describing it. You get the premise here, okay? It's extremely important when I say the wrong note, the note just prior, not the note after it, okay? So you play 3 and then 4, 6 and then 7, 9 and then 10, 11 then 12. Now you can put them in whatever order you want. meaning that you could start with a 9-10 and then jump down to the 3-4, okay? But those new notes, instead of calling them the wrong notes, I'm going to give them a more academic name. Those are passing tones. They're not chord tones, they're passing tones. They're very cool sounding notes that get you to a chord tone. Passing tones sound awesome, right? Now, you've heard people do this kind of thing all the time. In my mind, it's a jazz thing because it is, but that's not to say no one else in the world does it. But for the moment, let's agree to call it a jazz thing. Has some bluesy aspects as well, right? Okay. Any questions though about what we're doing now? Playing the wrong note and then playing the right note. You're taking the listener, you're bending their ear a little bit, but then you're bringing them back to a chord tone to assure them that you're in complete control, that you are safe to drive, you know, but you're taking them on a trip. I was talking to a student, I gave the example of like a taxi driver who takes you on a little detour because they want to show you something. And he said, yeah, the taxi driver's like, hey, it's on the way. It's on the way. I just want to show you this thing, you know? So yeah. Okay, so now you do it. I'm going to give you some B7 chords. Actually, I'm just going to let the looper go. Here comes the looper. Okay, now I hope you're having fun with that, because if you're having fun, then I did my job right, you know? Let me know in the chat. Here's what can go wrong. And although I haven't noticed this happening, but I mean, hypothetically, what could go wrong is if you do it in the wrong order. You play the chord tone, you play the 4, and then you play the 3. I don't recommend that. So make sure you play the wrong note, quote, quote, and then the right note. If the wrong note that you play is on the other side, it won't necessarily sound bad, say, to play the 5 and then the 4. I'm not saying it sounds bad, but at the moment, I strongly encourage you to play the note prior, the lower, the lesser number, you know? Hey, did anyone notice that if we're playing 9 and then 10, 11 and then 12, that means 9, 10, 11, 12 are all fair game. That's kind of cool. Okay, now, if you're with me so far, let's talk about the remaining numbers. Now, believe me, I wish I could take a pen and write right on the screen. But so far, the numbers we have include 0, of course, the open B string, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's only a few numbers you aren't playing. Let's talk about 2 numbers, 2 frets, that are 100% okay to play. And they are the 2nd fret and the 5th fret. Why are 2 and 5 okay to play? The premise here is that we're in the world of B7. Therefore, the B major scale is our reference point, right? Well, because everything goes back to the major scale. That's the answer. If you say, well, why is the B major scale the reference point? Because everything is somehow related back to major scales. The 2nd fret note happens to be the note C sharp, and the 5th fret note happens to be the note E. E is in echo. Those 2 notes are part of a B major scale, C sharp and E. Those are part of a B major scale, C sharp and E. So those don't sound bad. They're still passing tones. They're not chord tones, but they're perfectly cool sounding passing tones. I mean, that's fine. So yes, you're allowed to play 2 and 5. Okay, now all of a sudden, 0 is okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are okay. 9, 10, 11, 12 are okay. That leaves us, if you're keeping track, with trying to figure out, are we allowed to play 1, meaning the first fret, and are we allowed to play 8? Well, let's do 1 first. I'm going to play 0, which I know is a chord tone, and then 1. You tell me if you like the sound. I don't know about you, but my ear gets used to that pretty quickly. It actually sounds kind of a little funky, a little Pink Panther action going on there, right? I don't know. It doesn't sound bad. It's an acquired taste, like garlic, like whatever, cilantro. But I'm not going to tell you that's a bad note. That only leaves the 8th fret. Well, what does the 8th fret sound like? I'm going to play the 8th fret note for you with the backing track with the B7, but I'm going to go from 8 to 7 because 7 is a chord tone. So 8 is going to sound wonky, but I know 7 is going to sound okay. Okay, let's try 8 going to 7. I don't know. I mean, doesn't sound that bad. So wait a minute now. There are no wrong notes. I just played every note. We just played every note from 0 to 12. Many of them were passing tones. A handful were chord tones. No matter what, many of them were, well, since we played every single fret, every note, the notes of a B major scale are all hidden in there somewhere. Even the weird sounding notes don't sound that weird after a while. So guess what? You're playing jazz guitar. Now, a better way to put that is you are dipping your toe in the water of improvising the way a jazz guitar player just might improvise. We happen to be doing it on 1 string because that linear perspective, I think, is a super helpful perspective. You know, I'm glad I read the article I did in the guitar book that I read it in, because even though his take was different than mine, I think he and I ended up at the same place, which is every note is fair game if you're improvising. Okay, don't be shy. RB is saying 987 also sounds good. Totally, man. Totally. To tell you the truth, your ear / imagination, your taste, that's always been the only limits to everything. Or just that today, it maybe some of you are becoming aware of that in real time. If it sounds good to your ear, it is good. It just is. And if it sounds not good to your ear, then don't play it. That's okay. But don't rule it out forever, you know? Clearly, we're in a world now where we're improvising. And some people, this is their strength. I've had students like that who are far more comfortable doing what we're doing right now than they are learning a note-for-note song on the guitar. I get it. And other people are the exact opposite. They're like a deer in the headlights. When someone says, okay, play a solo, they might have had no interest and no experience doing that, and then that's not their thing. I get it. Many of us fall somewhere in between. Okay. So a couple of things now that we're up and doing this. First of all, please do this on your own. If you don't already have a looper, you don't have to get one. Just record yourself on your phone. Any way you have to record yourself. Again, it'd be kind of cool to do this with a friend or family member, because then you both benefit. Then it becomes a human interaction, which is kind of why we're here on the planet, to interact with our fellow humans. You guys might be aware. Let me see if I can do this quietly. Hold on, stand by. Okay, I'm using this little itty bitty looper called a Ditto, little Ditto looper, about $100, give or take. Ditto from TC Electronic. It does the job, and it wasn't very expensive. I have a bigger, fancier one, which is great, but often that's all I need. You know, it doesn't have any bells or whistles, and that's okay. So plug it back in. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, I'm back. So a couple of things. Then shouldn't I say to you now, oh, you're a jazz guitar player, you know, come on up and get your certificate and we'll see you down the road and at, you know, the jazz clubs. Yes and no. Here's why you're not a jazz player and I'm not either. Jazz songs don't stay on a B7 chord for 5 minutes, right? Imagine a song where the chords are changing every 2 beats. Ouch. And you've got to, for example, every 2 beats, you've got to know what's coming next. You've got to be prepared for that. You know, that's a game changer, right? Okay. And I've done just enough jazz to know what I know and know what I don't know. And I know I haven't put the time in to where I can process what my options are every 4 beats, every 2 beats, or every 1 beat. Oh my God, you know, I understand how it's done. I understand the work you have to put in to be able to process that. And I just haven't done that kind of work, and that's okay. You know, I like myself. I can live with that. But I sure respect the people who have put in that work. But you are playing jazz guitar, man, especially if you like some of those quirky sounds. Welcome to the world of jazz guitar. How cool is that? And of course, people can do this in any style of music. Now, here's another super important point. I chose to do this with you guys during a B7 chord, on top of a B7 chord. And that was very specific. Any chord with 7 in the name just has a harmonic richness. It has some tension built in, especially like dominant 7s, B7, A7, and so on. It has some built-in tension. There's a fluidity that's going on there. It's not clear what's coming next or where we are. So that makes it, that's an opportunity to play anything on top of a 7th chord. I'm going to do it for you now on top of the E major chord. Some of you might have already beat me to the punch. You might already be doing this. Let's turn this up, turn this down. You are, of course, allowed to do this same thing on top of a regular major chord. We'll talk more in a second. Here's the E major chord. No, it sounds okay. It sounds like I'm doing this cool, you know, slightly bluesy, jazzy thing on top of a very straight chord. You know, major chords are really, they've got one job. They understand the assignment. They're just being a major chord. Can you get away with what I just did? Sure. I mean, it sounds okay. Major chords don't lend themselves to that kind of, you know, freedom, so to speak. 7th chords do. And the same would go for A major. Okay, so that's why I chose to illustrate this on top of a B7. But it's not because you're not allowed to do it over a major chord. It is that it works so nicely over the B7. So for the record, what I was just doing there, though, I was looking at the top of the page, the first line. I was using the skinny string, the 0-4-7-12, but I was playing the wrong note right before. I was playing 3-4 and 6-7 and 11-12. And of course, 0 sounds good no matter what. Hey, Randy, thank you for your super chat. I appreciate that. So don't let me stop you from doing this on top of any chord. It's your life, man. Do it. Have fun, you know. So what I do highly encourage you to do, number 1, memorize the sequence, 0-4-7-12. As long as the chord is an E, an A, a D, a G, or a B, right, named after our strings, as long as it's one of those chords, the 0-4-7-12 is going to sound great, you know. The 0 meaning the open string, right? If I was doing this on top of a D chord, D as in delta, I would focus on the D string and do 0, 4, 7, 12, you know? It was a D7, 0, 4, 7, 10, 12, right? We learned that sequence from the B7 chord. Take a look at the bottom of the page. I couldn't resist one more teachable moment. We'll get to the minors in a second. The B7 at the bottom of the page. It's not 0, 4, 7, 10, 12, but it follows the same algorithm. I hope I'm using that word correctly. Instead of using the open B string, I'm choosing a B that's 1 octave lower. This B right here, A string, 2nd fret. Now, when I say algorithm, again, I'm hoping I'm using that term correctly. Once I start, I am using the same jumping sequence. I'm going to start, I'm going to go up 4 frets, up 3 frets, 3 frets again, and then 2 frets. Because that's what I did on the first time I did B7, you know, 0, 4, 7, 10, 12, 2, 6, 9, 12, 14. Let me know in the chat if I'm using the word algorithm correctly. I think I am, you know. And now don't freak out. Those of you like, nope, you lost me, buddy. Sorry, buddy, you lost me. When in doubt, just play what it says, you know. I mean, the numbers don't lie. But in case you want to know why the bottom B7 is different than the top B7, so to speak, it's simply that we're starting on a different B. But once we start, the number of frets we jump up each time follows the same sequence as the top one, where we jumped up. When I say top one, I'm talking about the B7 in the middle of the page. We jumped up 4 frets, then 3 frets, then 3 more frets, and then 2 frets. And that's how we got up to the 12. Well, at the bottom of the page, I couldn't resist just doing B7 a different way, just for kicks, because why not? You know, also because it pushes you a little bit. Just when you were getting good at the 0, 4, 7, 10, 12, now you got to do it a different way. Okay, now let's address the minors. 1 note difference, 1 little note, but that's a huge difference. 0, 3, 7, 12. 0, 3, 7, 12. There's the difference in black and white between a major chord, a major sound, and a minor sound. 1 note gets changed by 1 fret, changes everything. It's a massive difference, but on paper, it looks like a tiny difference. Yeah, go figure. However you want to, if that seems like a tiny difference to you, that's okay. If it seems like a huge difference to your ear, that's okay. Whatever works for you. So is everybody okay? I'm looking in the chat here. Yeah, RB says it's lowering the third, a big difference. Yeah, and RB says, yes, I am using the word algorithm properly. Okay, good. Now, those of you who are feeling a little like you're in the deep end of the pool and the music theory is like, don't worry. Just play what's written. Make a loop of yourself strumming an E minor chord. Bear with me for a second. An E minor chord. And then solo using the 0, 3, 7, 12. I know here's a question that we're all wondering. Can you do that same little trick where you play the wrong note and then the right note? Let's find out. No, it sounds pretty cool, right? Okay, now I know we've been at this for a little while, and I know we did this last week, although I don't think we went quite this in-depth last week. But you can see there's a lot of possibilities here. Does this song make you better at Wish You Were Here? Does it make you better at Sweet Home Alabama? No, not directly. This page, it doesn't. This is just a different approach, right? So for those of you who are very song-oriented, and your dream is to play you want to play the guitar solo of Stairway to Heaven that Jimmy Page plays towards the end of the song, and that's your goal. This does not directly help you with that. I get it. Does it make you a better musician? 100%. Would Jimmy Page encourage you to play this? Yes, you would. You would. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it makes you a more musical person. And for some of you, this is your sweet spot, anyways. You know, you just want to put on a backing track and rock out, and that's awesome. Among other things, it's therapeutic. You know, I think it makes the world a better place. So I'm going to stop sharing this now. We've been at this for a while. My hope is that little by little, I can give you different tricks, different things to think about. So when you're soloing, you have some more ideas, especially if this is your strength. And just to bring it on home, notice the one thing we're not doing is keeping our hand in one position and improvising with, for instance, a minor pentatonic scale. Nothing wrong with that. Everybody does that. And it gives you a very specific sound, a very specific collection of kind of classic cliche riffs. That it is what it is. Nothing wrong with that. This is a much different perspective, but it's not even hard, right? It's not, I don't know. I've been doing this with a bunch of students recently for the past few days, and people are sounding, I hate to say surprisingly good. It just makes me realize I sadly have underestimated what people are capable of. And every once in a while, I get reminded of that. And so that's good for me as a teacher to realize, number one, I got some great students. And number two, you know, shame on me for like, I don't know, for not making this a regular thing years and years ago. But that's why I read other people's guitar books. I get ideas from them. I think, well, what if I modify that a little bit with my students? And again, when I say modify it, the lesson I saw in this book I'm talking about, it was extremely similar to what I'm doing with you guys. It just got kind of complicated, kind of fast, and I just knew that it was a great idea that just needed to be twisted a little bit so that the rest of us could do it without a whole lot of jazzy, bluesy, improvising experience, you know? So there you go. Okay. Yeah. Beginner guitar lessons is saying, adding that note at the 5th fret, you know, 0, 4, 7, but you play the 5, is a nice sound. Yeah. Yep. Yep, it's a cool sound. And you can do it during the majors or the minors. So what I might do moving forward, I might do a second version of that sheet you were looking at with a bunch of those passing tones written in. But as you can see, it ultimately ends up just being 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So if you remember nothing else, remember that you can play all those notes, but the 0, 4, 7, 12 for the majors, that's an important one to remember. 0, 4, 7, 10, 12 for the 7th chord, B7 in this case, and 0, 3, 7, 12 for the minors. That's a good thing to remember, you know, as your chord tones. You always want to know where the chord tones are. Last thing, if you're doing this on top of, say, a C7 chord, don't be freaked out. We can't start on 0 anymore. We need to start, I'm going to use the C, the 2nd string, 1st fret. Okay, there's my C right there, just like it's part of a C chord, right? You guys are, you know, take my word for that. That's the note C, 2nd string, 1st fret. That's a note C. Hypothetically, the band is on a C7 chord in the background. I'm going to take what I know about the B7, 0, 4, 7, 10, 12. I'm going to raise all those numbers by 1 fret. So instead of 0, 4, 7, 10, 12, say it with me. 1, 5, 8, 11, 13. 1, 5, 8, 11, 13. Is that going to work? Of course it's going to work. Should we prove it? Heck yeah. Okay, here's a C7 chord in the background. What are the numbers? 1, 5, 8, 11, 13. Let me hear you do it. Now try out those passing notes. 1, 4, 5. How about 7, 8? Ten, 11. And 12, 13. Yeah, man. Yeah. Okay. Now I know we're going to wrap up in a minute. What I'm hoping is that not just that you're executing this okay. I have no doubt that you can play 1 and 5 and 8 and so on. What I'm hoping is that beyond just this notion of relocating the root note, instead of 0, now the root note is 1, and then adding 1 to all the numbers that you did from the B7 sequence. Now you just added 1 to each one of those. That's what you can do for the C7 on top of a C7 chord. I'm hoping that you, like me, are enjoying these new melodic sounds coming out of your guitar. It's all context, right? All of a sudden, during a C7 chord, that 4th fret 2nd string note leading to that 5th fret 2nd string note, all of a sudden that has some value that it didn't have this morning when you woke up, you know? And just like science, you can recreate it, replicate it. It's always going to sound cool during a C7 chord. It never doesn't sound cool. How about the 7, 8? Ah, you get the idea. You get the idea. Okay, so what we're doing now can be applied to any chord. You just need to know the sequence, right? Chords that we haven't even talked about, diminished chords, whatever, you know. I just figured, hey, let's start with majors, minors, and 7ths. All right, check, check. I'm checking off my list, check. All right, is that a good note to end on? Oh, we didn't get to the tough love. Let's end on this note. For those of you who have stuck around, you've been here for minutes, maybe even hours. We'll end on this note. I'm looking in the chat to make sure. Yeah, Scott, you can do it on the open, on the dobro and open G. I see what you're saying. Well, here's the thing, Scott. No matter what tuning you're in, you need to know 2 things. You need to know, because we're only staying on 1 string. So you need to know what the background chord is. I mean, if you're the band, then you're playing the background chord, right? So let's say the background chord is a G7 chord. Well, pick any string you have tuned to the note G, and then follow the algorithm. So for G7, the algorithm would be the open G string, whichever string you have tuned to G, 0, 4, 7, 10, 12, right? Those are the notes, those are the frets, assuming that you're starting on a string that's tuned to G, you know? But you're right, there's, you know, your mind hopefully begins thinking like, okay, what if I'm starting, you know, with the chord is a B flat chord, or if I want to play the notes that sound good with the G7, but I'm going to start on my open D string, D as in Delta. Well, you gotta juggle stuff around. I took some jazz lessons from a guy who said he would stay awake at night, laying awake at night, thinking about what he had learned that day and just running through the options. Well, if the song is doing this, then I can do this. And yeah, man. And if some of you, if that's kind of going on in your head a little bit like, wait, then I can do this. So I wonder if I try this, what happens? There you go. You're in good company. Okay, let's end on this note. And I put this in the tough love category. Every once in a while, I do a little segment called Tough Love. Although this is, that's not the, I didn't have any other category to put it in, but this is not the toughest love you're ever going to hear from my mouth. Many of us picked up the guitar out of curiosity, musical curiosity. Your musical curiosity got you this far, got you to wherever you are today. However you, I know some of you think, I wish it got me a lot farther. It's going to get you farther, you know, but just being curious. How do you play the guitar? Can I play the guitar? How does that one song go? How does he do that fast? You know, what does that guitar sound like compared to that guitar? Your musical curiosity is probably what sent you down this road. Hopefully it wasn't because someone, you know, hopefully you didn't lose a bet or no one put a curse on you and that's why you ended up with a guitar in your hands, you know? So if you're like me, I've always been curious how they did it. Why does that chord sound the way it did? What's happening in that song? What just happened right there? Earlier I mentioned hearing Beatles songs where I didn't know it at the time, but what I was hearing was the 4 chord as a major going to the 4 chord as a minor. Well, now I know what's going on, you know. Dare I say, I even have a little bit of insight as to why the Beatles did it. I mean, they did it because it sounds good, but they also did it because they're following a songwriting tradition where that was a common thing, you know. I know a little bit about it. So my musical curiosity has was partly motivated by I wanted to know how all this stuff happened, the stuff I've been hearing my whole young life, you know. Musical curiosity also can motivate you to find out what you can do, right? You know, for instance, our weekly play along songs. I bet a lot of you are doing those songs okay. Like, if anything, they might seem a little bit easy. Yeah. But you want to find out what you can do. You know, once you start playing for the guitar for a little while, it's fun to ask yourself, you know, can I do that? I think I can play Smoke on the Water, man. I think I can play that Muddy Waters riff. I think I can play that, you know. And then of course, the one of the biggest factors is you find out what your potential is. You know, are you better this year than you were last year? Do you know more songs? Are you more comfortable with more chords? Can you play faster? You know, sometimes that's a noticeable thing. So, you know, your own curiosity about your potential, you know, well, if I can get this much better, can I get that much better? How do I get that much better? What do I do? Is it realistic? How long does it take? It's all good questions, right? So I'm referring to this under the term musical curiosity. And there's a bunch of facets. You know, can I afford that extra guitar? That's yeah. So yeah, that's probably why you got into this in the first place. You know, it looks kind of easy when other people do it. Is it easy? I'm curious. So anyways, be proud of your musical curiosity. It got you this far. May you stay curious forever. It's going to keep asking those questions. It's going to keep you going. How confident can your pinky get? Will you ever get bar chords? You know, how do these people sound the way they do? What's the trick to it? Is there a trick? Yeah, musical curiosity. All right, my friends, let's end on that note. Thanks for being here. Thanks to everyone in the chat for taking part in the chat and making this a better show. You guys definitely make this show better just by what you say, what you enter into the chat, the questions you ask. I'm going to say a few good nights. Good night to RB, Chaz, Randy, Scott, beginning guitar lessons and music fan. Thank you for being our moderators. A to Z me. Thank you for those of you who threw some super chat donations our way. Ryan, thanks for being here. I'm just scrolling. Charlie, thanks for being here. CLS Create, thank you for being here. If I didn't say your name, I'm thinking of you. Stephen, thank you for being here. Christian, thank you for being here. You guys, I hope you have a great week. I will see you next Saturday. And then next Sunday night is the Grammys. Good times. Am I going to watch the Grammys? Am I that musically curious? I guess I'm just sad that so many of the people that I've mentioned on the show here are almost certainly not going to be featured, and I sure wish they were. Um, so I guess I'll watch out of curiosity. But yeah, like I said, I wish there was an alternative broadcast featuring a lot of the super talented people. You guys have heard my whole spiel. All right, you guys, have a great week. Stay warm if you're one of the millions of people who are about to get smacked by a snowstorm tomorrow morning. We will survive, as the song says. All right, you guys, I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Hope you have a chance to play the guitar. Don't throw your back out shoveling snow. And I'll see you next Saturday. Take care, everybody.